So SARS-CoV-2 reinfection, it is rare, and we tell not to test within 3 months because the PCR can detect the virus up to 3 months sometimes. But if the patient develops suspective symptoms, you can't apply that rule. You have to pre-test and evaluate that case with regard to further measures. So if patient is developing symptoms again, if it is suggestive, we have to retest. But the reinfections are up to now rare. We don't tend to test within 3 months. So at last, about SARS-CoV-2 variants, as it is a very hot topic. Now, all the variants we are talking now, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and there are two others also, and those are variants of concern because there are 3 categories of variants. So these popular variants are under category 2, variants of concern, because scientists have detected there is some impact on our vaccination, vaccine-induced efficacy, or the therapeutics, or with regard to the transmission. There is impact from these variants. That is why they have categorized them as variants of concern. They are more infectious, the vaccine efficacy would be less, like that. And in the 3rd category, they have given the name variants of high consequences. That is, if you come across a variant which is making our current strategies are highly ineffective. We know we use social distancing, mask wearing, and all those measures, new living situation, and testing, all strategies are there. So if there is a new variant where we might need to review all these strategies because this new variant is no longer contained with existing strategies, then that would be a variant of high consequences. Fortunately, up to now, we haven't come across such variant, but it is not impossible to have a variant in future, or variant in this early groups can shift to this level. So that's the vigilance that we should have. Variant of interest are the identified variants which might have some potential to give rise to those parameters, but still no adequate data and still no major impact. So therefore, they are categorized as variant of interest. Those are being studied for progression. And these variants are detected by gene sequencing. There are different methods of gene sequencing. And the other important thing is the people think these variants can only be imported. It is not true. If we allow overwhelming transmission in our community, we can develop our own variants. We can develop our own delta here without getting it imported. So these all variants can evolve anywhere independently if there is overwhelming transmission. So therefore, it is important to stop importation. That is also important. But we have to understand both possibilities are there. We can import variants, also we can give rise to variants, existing ones or new ones on our soil, if we allow overwhelming infection transmission here. Then the purpose of sequencing is not for routine diagnostic, or there is no individual value in the result. It is not a one-to-one diagnosis like PCR or antigen. It is to understand the epidemiology or the trend of the pandemic. Especially, we might need to focus on identify if there are vaccine failure cases with severe disease, if there are reinfections with severe disease, we need to investigate those cases to check whether there are new variants. So I have listed out a few indications present for where you need to focus on sending sample for sequencing. We might need to check few critically ill patients. We might not be able to do all, but better to test few critically ill patients for sequencing. And then we might need to, if we come across any family or community cluster with high fatality rates, we might need to detect it and identify it and do some sequencing on it. Then if somebody develops severe disease after full course of vaccination, that is, there's an interest for sequencing. Then anyone presenting with reinfection and severe disease, consideration is there. And if there are newly emerging clusters with very high positive rates, if possible, if resources are available, better to do some representative sample from that one also. And also overseas returnees detected SARS-CoV-2 might need sequencing to detect to understand the threat that we are getting from different countries. So actually, the Department of Molecular Biology, MRI, and the Department of Zoology, University of Colombo, with Professor Inoka Pereira, we have started Oxford Nanopore technology-based gene sequencing service for detection of SARS-CoV-2 variants. We have been doing this for a few weeks now, and the team under Professor Inoka Pereira at Department of Zoology and the team from Department of Molecular Biology, MRI, working this out in a collaboration. Therefore, if you come across any such indications, first identify it and then please communicate with us to see whether we are able to do some sequencing on those samples. And because according to the available indications, we might need to prioritize which sample should go for sequencing, as this is a reference test. So therefore, it is always better to have prior communication and then samples with the designated request form. We have designed a request form with these indications and with needed information in it about the patient. So you can fill that designated request form and send the sample after prior communication with the Department of Molecular Biology on this extension, or you can communicate with the Department of Molecular Biology on this email address. So the question is, how long do we have to practice new normal living? We have to practice new normal living till we get the desired coverage of vaccination. Or maybe beyond that, if variants of high consequences emerge, challenging the vaccine-induced immunity. And the most important thing and the least focus in our country is about the situational analysis. Now we have to understand the virus may not act according to the existing guidelines throughout. Now we practicing existing guidelines. We ask you to follow the guidelines. So in routine practice, yes, we all have to abide by the guideline without deviating from it. Then we can't do this work. But being a very evolving virus, we have to do some situational analysis in addition to following routine guidelines. So therefore, we might need to identify situations where we would need to do some additional testing, deviating from the guideline to understand any evolving situation. So we can call this situational analysis. So I think sometimes we tend to do this on our own individually, but I think as a national policy, maybe at epidemiology unit, at the level of epidemiology unit, we might need to have some good organizational structure to plan out situational analysis while practicing the existing guideline. We keep checking the virus whether it is behaving exactly according to the guideline we are practicing now. So, so that testing need also should be there. Apart from going for this routine testing, we need to adapt some creative testing for that purpose also. And this is my last slide. This is the equation I can figure out that we live new normal living, the less the restrictions or lockdowns we face. When we deviate from the new normal living and if we are in a rush to go for normal living, then it is inevitable to facing lockdowns and restrictions. So we need to have this concept in our mind, and also we need to understand all technical issues and interpretation issues of lab testing results, not to make people fatigue with this pandemic, and also not to give any risk of transmission in our falls. So thank you very much. I would like to be thankful to Sri Lanka College of Microbiologists for giving me this opportunity to discuss on this needed topic with relevant stakeholders. Thank you.